The PA Supreme Court is accepting mail-in ballots 3 days after Election Day. And does the Google antitrust lawsuit mean the same thing's going to happen in real estate? We'll talk about it all next on Toole Time. I'm Tom Toole. She is Stephanie Coho. We are back on Toole Time, and we've got some. This first story is just wild to me. I don't even know what to say. So, an article came out, and news came out that the PA Supreme Court 2 days ago is going to permit Pennsylvania to count mail-in ballots received 3 days after the election. What do you think about all this?
I just don't understand how that's going to happen. I mean, they announce who wins that night. So, I mean, even if they do count them, like, what happens next?
Well, so the Pennsylvania's a swing state, right? Like, this is like a big, like, Pennsylvania really hasn't been like this until the last election or two. And it's going to be, like, people are saying, if, like, in order for someone to win, they need to win Pennsylvania, like, period. And the interesting thing is that the decision was split 4-4 on the Supreme Court case here on Monday. So it went back to the appellate ruling, and the Pennsylvania Supreme Court ruled last month that they're going to give a 3-day extension. So what's to stop people from, hey, my candidate didn't win, I'm going to get everyone I know who voted and make sure they mail in their ballots right away? Like, what's going to happen there?
Well, I think it said it had to be postmarked by the 3rd.
It does say that, yes.
So I guess they can't wait until after the election to then mail it in quickly.
Good point. But still.
But still, I don't know how that can, I mean, you can't, are you going to say who the winner is? Unless they're going to postpone in the country announcing the winner, I don't see how this makes a difference.
Yeah, and I just don't, it just doesn't make sense. I mean, 8 o'clock on November 3rd, and what happens too is, like, as soon as the polls close, like, they get data all day long. So there's still the ability to, like, stuff a bunch of mail-in ballots there, because elections are, you used to work elections, which I want you to talk about. This is pretty interesting. But, like, they're tracking data all day, so there's a lot of times when they see it's going one way or the other, they're going to, I mean, there's like some crazy last-minute Hail Mary to win an election. And look, I mean, there's corruption in these things. I don't care what anyone says. You've worked the polls in Delaware, so tell us a little bit about that experience. I think that's relevant here.
Yeah, I mean, really, all day, people come in, they vote, and then at the end of the day, you're required to pull every machine, see who has the most votes, and then you have to actually announce it right then and there and post it on every polling place location, so everybody can go see if they want.
So do you feel like there's the opportunity for, like, corruption to happen at the polls?
Well, I know Delaware has gotten, like, a lot of really great feedback that they handle them well, so I don't know in every state how they're handled, but also this is a really weird year. I mean, I haven't worked them this year, but it's a really weird year with, like, mail-in, like, so many more people are doing mail-in ballots, so I don't really know how. I mean, I think whenever you're doing anything with paper, there is more of a ability. You know, you're relying more on humans to not make errors.
Well, look at the hanging Chad election back in 2000, where, I mean, they weren't counting votes because of that in the Bush-Gore election. So I don't understand how they're going to be able to determine who really wins. Like, we're not going to find out election night is probably what this means, because I mean, there's a lot of people that are voting by mail. So I don't see how we're going to find out right away. I think it's going to take some more time. Interesting stuff. I mean, I don't think it can get any weirder this year. Next thing you know, they're going to start letting, like, pets vote or something. So we'll have to, you know, I think, and it's going to be a close race, so we'll just have to see how this plays out. But, I mean, the last election, the margin of victory was 1% in Pennsylvania. So those mail-in ballots are going to make a difference. Yeah. All right, real estate time. So Google's got this lawsuit about antitrust and monopolies, and Brad Inman, who, if you don't know him, he runs the website Inman, he runs Inman Connect. He's kind of like a real estate reporter, if you will, and like an influencer in a lot of ways. And on Tuesday, the U.S. Justice Department accused Google of illegally protecting its monopoly over search advertising. And I guess the big question here is, in light of this NAR lawsuit about commissions, and is there a monopoly in real estate, do you think the same thing's going to happen to the real estate industry? Like, what's your take on this, Steph?
I mean, I personally don't think that. I mean, I see the points that they're making, but I do think that there's, I mean, so many different places to go for a real estate agent, for real estate searches, for real estate advice. So to me, I think this is a bit of a stretch.
I agree, and I also think the lawsuit is BS. I've said that many times. Where I think they're going with this, the people on the plaintiff side, like their intention is, well, hey, and we talked about this before the show, there are some agents that say if you don't pay this, people won't show your home. And that may or may not be true. I'm not saying that's true or not. There is that conversation that goes on, which I'm sure happens. Otherwise, they probably wouldn't have the lawsuit in the first place. At the same time, there's companies like Rex, who doesn't even put their properties in the MLS. There's people like Redfin that they work off of like what they get paid per showing. Zillow's hiring agents, they're salaried. So I see those actions demonstrating there's not a monopoly in real estate. Like it's not, and there's always been discount brokers and that sort of thing. So I just wonder, like, how far is this going to go? So I mean, do you really think this lawsuit's going to have any legs here after the motion to deny or dismiss the lawsuit got denied by a U.S. District Court judge earlier in the month? Like, I mean, how do you see this playing out in light of what's going on with Google?
Well, I mean, I think eventually this will go away. I think that there's, to your point, a lot of different options for sellers and for buyers out there. But I also think, we were talking about that one podcast that I listened to.
What's the name of the podcast, by the way?
It's Tim and Julie Harris.
Okay.
And they have a real estate podcast, and they have kind of touched upon this before, and they've said, it may come down to buyers agents really having to have a tough conversation with their buyers as to why they should pay their commission if this causes a big disruption.
Yeah, and I mean, that's a tough thing. And I mean, there have been some cases where buyers have paid the fee. I mean, a lot of times, like a for sale by owner, if you bring that to them, they'll be willing to pay the fee, or maybe the for sale by owner isn't. When I see, Zillow doing what they're doing, when I see Redfin doing, I mean, Glenn Kelman, the CEO, has been on his soapbox, lost the word there for a second, saying like, hey, I want to save people money, but at the same time, I don't know if all consumers want that. They want to make sure they're represented properly in the transaction, and the Redfin model is they don't know anything and they just cut down fees, which for maybe someone like you or me, and we're moving to another state, that could probably work because we know what we're doing, right? But a lot of people have no idea. I mean, do you feel like the consumer really knows what they're getting into in these transactions?
No, I don't. And I think I do think that there's a really important role to have a seller's agent and a buyer's agent. But I also think that on both sides, there are agents that work really hard and do a great job, and some that maybe don't, right? So
yeah.
I think
any business is like that, by the way.
Yeah. So I think the best thing is just really to always make sure, like, if you're an agent and you work with buyers, I think it's really important for you to just always do a great job and really like do as much as you can, so that way you're showing them what value you're bringing to the table. Well,
and a lot of times, like, are there sales that are easier than others? Absolutely, right? I mean, that happens all the time. There's some sales that happen no matter, the agent, those people would have bought the house with another agent or with somebody else. Like they were going to buy that particular house, especially homes that are in like downtown boroughs and areas that are on like this certain street. Like these buyers are looking there, so that's maybe a little bit of a different situation. At the same time, though, when something goes wrong, and that happens a lot. I mean, I remember that sale you had last year where it was the issue of the the estate not being probated. It was in Westchester here, and how long did that go on for? I mean, they really needed some guidance in that.
Yeah.
And did your buyers expect that? Probably not. So it's easy to say this, and when things go wrong, that's where it gets really challenging. So I don't agree that there's a lot of monopolies lurking in the real estate industry. In fact, there's so many disruptors right now. To me, it's the exact opposite. I mean, so I hear what Brad's saying, and he was more asking the question, and I thought it was relevant because Google is, I mean, we always say I say this at least, Google, or Zillow is the Google of real estate, right? So there is that, but there's also a lot of other options besides Zillow that we have to look at.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm glad we agree. This is a good one to agree on, Steph, especially given what we do for a living. So, all right, Steph got a quote here. I like this quote. It comes from David Goggins, who I haven't met, but I've seen speak. Very intense. He went through Navy SEAL training 3 times, I believe. So, great guy to follow. Just Google him. Like we just talked about Google. It'll probably a lot easier. So, we all need small sparks, small accomplishments in our lives to fuel the big ones, because it's the small sparks which start small fires. They eventually build enough heat to burn the whole effing forest down. What do you think about all this?
I think this is really important and also really relevant, especially, kind of in our line of work, right? Like it's kind of, we were just talking about this today, like it kind of slows down towards the end of the year, and some agents take a lot of time off. So I think it's just important to know that every day the small accomplishment that you make is really to build your bigger goal. And I think you do see that eventually.
Well, a fire is a great analogy here, Because have you ever like started a fire before, done like a campfire or anything?
I mean, I personally have not, but I've watched my
Have you
husband
seen it
do
happen? Okay. So I haven't done this in a long time, but you start off with like a piece of kindling. Usually it's like some like pocket lint or like some twine or something. You light that on fire and it lights right away, but then you got to put like some small sticks there to keep it going. And then you put a couple more, and then eventually they get larger and larger and grow. And you know, if you look at, you know, I mean, David Goggins, I mean, he's done all kinds of like marathons and races, but that all starts somewhere small. And he was really overweight and was not in good shape. And basically his whole thing was I had to start somewhere, and it was that he had something about fear that he talks about, where when you're afraid of something, he just does it over and over again until it's like, and his words would be like, F you, I'm not scared anymore. That's what he would say. He's a little too explicit for Steph apparently. But so the point is, it's like that daily, just one thing a day. Like we were talking about this today. Like what's your daily goal? What's your daily number? Tom Ferry talks about it all the time. So I'm clear this is a great comparison.
Yeah.
Cool. That's all we got this week. Thanks for watching, everybody. Take care.